I think this was as intense as it could be when it comes to the first ever, well, technically second ever MLB Wild Card Series, first non-COVID year. After 4-game series that went down to the wire, even though 2 of them were 2 sweeps, and then one was an epic game of all proportions. We have a lot to talk about regarding the MLB postseason, the wild card season, and as we look ahead to the division series. So before we let all those emotions out, we have Alex Young joining us again. What's up, Alex?
Hey, Matt, how are you?
What's up, buddy? Can't wait to hear what you have to say. We have a new friend on the block for the first time making his Productive Conversations debut, talking all things baseball with us throughout the rest of the month and then some. We have Leo Rodriguez joining us for the first time. Leo, so great to have you, buddy. What's up?
What's up, guys? What's up? We got a lot to talk about.
Yes, we do. So let's start it right away, gentlemen. After a wild card series, the one that hits close to home, the New York Mets. Need I say more? They play a big 3-game wild card series against the San Diego Padres. They lose 2-1 after a very, very disappointing outing from Max Scherzer in game 1, giving up 4 home runs. Oh, and you could just feel the hearts rip out at Citi Field. Then they come back. The offense finally wakes up towards the end of game 2. Jacob deGrom pitches a gem, and they hold their own in that one. And then in a deciding game 3 on a Sunday night in Queens, you have Chris Bassett versus Joe Musgrove that ultimately led to a San Diego Padres victory. And they won 6-0 on Sunday night after a stellar one-hit shutout. And the 101 Mets season team is officially over. The Padres moved to Los Angeles, and that puts a cap on one hell of a season in all proportions. So before I could get any trolling in, before we can express what we have to express, let's be real for a second and just ask you two, the big Met fans in this, how are you feeling? First, I'll give it to Alex. I'm sure you have a lot of emotion. Then we'll hear Leo's, and then we'll come together and talk more on it. Alex, start us off. Tell us how you feel after the Mets get knocked out.
I know I told you on the other day that Angry Alex might make an appearance today. And it's close. It is definitely is close. You know, I was riding high. I'm a Giants fan, riding high, upsetting the Packers in London. Was feeling good coming into that game. I was like, you know what? Bassett's been dealing all year. Maybe it's the time to battle it out with Musgrove. And I knew right away when he couldn't get out of the bases loaded jam. I said, it's it. It's over. We're done. We give Joe Musgrove a lead. That guy has been a Cy Young candidate most of the year. You know, he's obviously not going to win this year, but he pitched as I thought he was going to. And I don't care about what was on his ears or whatever the case might be. I'm not going to get into that. I don't think he cheated. He showed up when it mattered most, which is at the pretty much the emphasis of what the Mets did not do at multiple times this season, which is why I'm coming today extremely frustrated. It's the biggest game of the year. You get one hit. No one does anything. Musgrove's dealing. You can't do anything. No one showed up. And that was the same thing that we saw the whole last month of this year. When it mattered most, Mets didn't show up. Brave series didn't show up. You have a huge chance here. You get a win game 2. Potentially Jacob deGrom's final game as a Met. He holds it down for everyone. You get the win. You have a chance on Sunday. And they just don't show up. And I know people are arguing the whole Buck thing with him going for Musgrove at the time he did. I agree. It was desperate times, and he did what he did. I'm not going to argue with him on that, but it's just such a frustrating moment where you have a 101-win season, you have everything in front of you, and you don't show up. And it's just such a disappointing way to end the year. there's definitely highs, there's definitely lows, and we thought, okay, maybe we can make a run. And the Padres showed up. They were the better team. The 7 through 9 hitters performed better than all the stars on the Mets, which is ridiculous.
Trent Grissom batting 184 in the regular season, and just
dude was playing like he was an all-star. He's been here. It's insane. And then and another thing that bothers me, and I told you this the other day when we were talking, you don't spend all this money to be a wild card exit team. You don't. And you paid all the money for Scherzer, and I love him. But you don't go for a guy like Scherzer. You don't bring a Marte. You don't bring a Canada. You don't bring an Escobar. You don't bring all these guys in and being out in the wild card. And that's what I think a lot of Mets fans, and Leo's probably going to agree exactly with me too when I tossed him in a minute, that this is not what we thought. We're riding high. Steve Cohen's finally giving us a competitive team and everything's looking good. And then there are signs later on in the year. It's like, this team's not good. We're not going to make a run. And now we spent all this money and you had a golden opportunity. And what happens here? And that's the thing that's going to be confusing this offseason for a lot of Mets fans. We're bringing Nimmo back. We're bringing DeGrom back. The Braves just signed Strider. They're getting all their core guys on these great team contracts. And we're just sitting here not knowing what the future holds. So, I know I talk a lot. I'm going to toss to Leo because he probably has a lot to say too. Definitely disappointing. That's what I was saying.
I wanted to say perfectly. Listen, one of the reasons why I wanted to do the podcast is I saw Matt say that the Mets choked against the Braves, saying, yeah, you can say that. We choked, we lost. But in my head, I'm like, okay, we lost the division. But I'm like, it doesn't matter who we're facing. Is it the Phillies, the Cardinals, the Braves again, the Dodgers, the San Diego? In my mind, I'm like, there's no way in hell we losing to any of these teams. That's how confident I was as a Met fan. I'm seeing Scherzer. I'm seeing DeGrom. I'm seeing Lindor, Alonso. Martin was coming back. Nemo gets on base. Like, it's easy for him to get on base. Canada's 10 pitches at bat. I'm so confident with the Mets going into the playoffs. And then Scherzer just wet the bed. I couldn't believe my eyes. 4 home runs, 7 runs. It just happened so fast. And just reality hit. Like, wow, are we really going to lose at home? And then even when DeGrom was pitching, it was good, but it wasn't the same DeGrom. He just looked so human, and the bats didn't come alive until like later in the game. And then last night, I didn't even realize it was one hit. It was a one hit, just one hit all the game.
Pete Alonso just had that one single in the fifth. Single.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that. That's worse. Oh, it's funny because I wanted to buy tickets for me and my father, and I'm very glad I did it. I would have been upset. And Grisham batting under 200. He looked like an all-star. Hang-Sung Kim walked 3 times. I don't know why they're not pitching to him. And it was just, and then Musgrove just, what Buck did, he was just a Hail Mary. He was trying to get him any type of reason to get him out of the game. That didn't work. And I was looking at the free agent list this morning. I was like, that's another thing. I didn't realize we have so many free agents. And it was this was supposed to be our year, 100%, because Scherzer is getting older. DeGrom, we don't know. DeGrom is going to ask for the world. Is Cohen going to pay him more money? So let's see. Very disappointing.
And Max Scherzer now looks like just an old pitcher you're overpaying now.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it's easier for me on the outside looking in, and I'm risking it all when the Yankees start their playoff series tomorrow. But, man, and I'm really hitting at the Met fans I don't like. My dad's a Met fan. You guys are Met fans I like. And I interact with some Met fans every day where I want them to suffer, where their heart was just ripped out, thrown to the ground and kicked multiple times and saying, stop the pain. You lied to me. You told me we were going to be together forever, that we were going to ride high, that this team that made insane comebacks throughout the first throughout the first 5 months of the year, and then all of a sudden a few injuries here, few injuries there, and then on a snap of a finger, it's led to this arguably the biggest collapse in the history of the Mets franchise. And hearing all national and local radio, as this was arguably the biggest story in sports, even after the Giants and Jets win 2 stellar games. This is as definition of a choke job as there can be. So I guess my next question for the both of you, and we'll throw it out, is this truly the biggest collapse in Mets history? And how can you trust a 101 win team after such a colossus failure? Is this as bad as it gets, gentlemen?
Yeah. I wouldn't I want to consider 2006 a collapse. There's other years where I was young, where they fumbled the bag at times. Mm-hmm. It's just, yeah. I mean, it is what it is. And to those, and I messaged a buddy who's a Yankee fan. I should have messaged you the same thing I said to him. I messaged him and I was just like, you know what? Any of the Met fans that try to talk trash to Yankee fans during the postseason this year have nothing to say. I said, best of luck to your team in the postseason. That's all I said. But any of the Met fans that are going to argue or complain or say anything need to shut their mouths, because we just had a 101 win season and we got bounced in the wild card. Mm-hmm. We did the typical Mets thing again. And
this was the Wilpons that was supposed to happen.
But I don't understand. I don't understand. And Leo he's been a lifelong Met fan like me. We were raised when we were terrible, and we were very humble when we did well. And then we get Steve Cohen, and then a bunch of Met fans flip the switch to being arrogant and
that's right.
Just all of a sudden bragging when we have nothing to brag. We haven't won a World Series since '86. Okay, we have nothing to brag about. Just because we have the richest owner in baseball doesn't mean we're going to win 25 World Series in a row. We just saw that. It is what it is. Stay as the humble Met fan, because it makes you feel a little bit better this morning. When I woke up this morning, and Matt, I woke up very early to go to work this morning. I was like, you know what? It sucks. We're disappointed, but you know what? Typical Mets. Yep. It's typical Mets. It doesn't matter who the owner is. It is what it is. So that's the one thing I want to say. Is it the biggest collapse for the Mets? It definitely feels like it today. We're all disappointed. We're all frustrated. We're all upset. We had so many highs this season. Like you said, incredible comebacks, injuries, anchoring it down. Didn't have the Grom half the year. Still winning series after series after series, griddling it out. Oh, this team's different. Oh, this team's different. And then the last month and a half, we're like, same old Mets. Same old Mets. And that's why it's just frustrating. It doesn't matter.
Numb to the pain, huh?
Yeah, at this point. And Matt, you know my sports teams. Leo, I'm going to tell you my sports teams. You'll know I'm numb to the pain at this point. I'm a Knicks fan. I'm a Giants fan. I'm a Mets fan. I'm a Rangers fan. Okay? There's that. I have two championships with the Giants. All my other teams have not won anything. So I'm kind of numb to it. I'm kind of used to it. And even then, the last 5 years for the Giants, Matt, you're a Giants fan, has been hell for us. So at this point, I'm just sticking as the humble Mets fan. And like I said, I'm excited. We have an owner that wants to spend money and be competitive. That's great. But that doesn't give anyone an avenue to start bragging about anything, because we don't have anything to back it up. And you know what's going to come back to us now? Hey, guys, you're on a 101 season. Guess how that turned out for you?
Right.
Should have won 102 games.
That's us. Yeah. It is what it is at this point. But yeah, it's tough to say it's the biggest collapse, but right now, because it's recent bias, it definitely feels like that as a Mets fan. And in recent memory for me, growing up a Mets fan, this is just a huge disappointment. And we had so many opportunities to seal our fate and get a rest and get all of our guys healthy and win the division, and we fumbled that too. So there's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, this is absolutely the biggest collapse the Mets have, because losing to the Yankees in 2001, that was big, but we wasn't expecting to win that series. 2006, Beltran, I swinging the bat against Adam Wainwright. That was a big one, but still, that stung. And then 2015 with Matt Harvey and those
We
guys.
shouldn't have been there though. Like that was a great
Exactly.
run. Yeah.
And we were very hopeful for the future.
Yeah.
Obviously, we never made it back.
No.
But this year it was again 101 season and just the whole everything. The best closing in the game, the whole trumpet and Scherzer, the Grom,
Is
and
it the trumpet's fault, as Jerry Seinfeld said?
right. McNeil with the batting champion and Lindor solidifying, trying to earn his contract. Pete Alonso 40 home runs. It was just we were the favorites. That's why it feels so bad because again, I was expecting to be, and I didn't care who we were facing. And San Diego, like, yeah, okay, San Diego, they got no Tatis and they don't scare me. Machado and Soto.
I forgot about Tatis.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was.
We just had to deal with Juan Soto. That was the thing.
Right,
Tatis, but still have to deal with Juan Soto because.
Right. Yeah, San Diego did not. They were a good team, but they're not better than the Mets, especially facing here in Queens. And again, just the whole Scherzer thing. It was just, it felt like, oh, okay.
I think that's the biggest.
This is how a Mets fan's supposed to feel. This is the whole letdown, the whole drop from the heavens. It just felt so bad. And we're back from square one again.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. So where do you go from here? Do you want Steve Cohen to just break the bank, have a $500 million payroll? And is that going to, is this going to prove that money solves your problems?
No.
At least in baseball.
No, not in baseball for sure. Maybe in basketball, you can buy in basketball, but in baseball, look at the Angels. They have two of the best players, and then you can't even make it to the playoffs. So I think you're gonna play it smart with your money and do not go for Judge for $500 million. That's not gonna help the Mets go anywhere.
No, I don't want that.
No, I think as much as Mets does, and I relate this a lot, but a lot of people forget because they just hear money with Steve Cohen. But in his introductory press conference, he literally said, "I'm gonna be smart with my money. I'm not gonna spend the money because I have it."
Yeah.
I mean, he did.
What a great dude, I guess.
He did splash, right, this offseason for sure. Like he definitely, but he did it smartly, right? We needed another pitcher. Who's he get? The best pitcher on the market. We needed another strong outfielder. Who we get? The best outfielder on the market, right? But it was all smart moves. It wasn't like I'm just going to throw money at this guy just to get him to come to my team. It was like, Escobar, right? I'm going to give him a good contract, but he's a utility guy. Canna, same thing, right? So money's not going to solve everything with this team. And that's the thing now that gets you nervous, right? If Grom wants more than Scherzer, that's going to be $45+ million. And then you got Scherzer for another year, right? So that you're paying, 80 to 90 million for your two starting pitchers alone. That's a lot. And Nemo, right? And that's the thing I think a lot of people are forgetting is just, it's not the Michael Conforto situation, right? With the ups and downs. Nemo has, I think, same with Edwin Diaz, who also deserves another contract too, which is another crazy thing. We have to pay Diaz. Like Nemo, I think, is the same idea as for Mets fans. Flip the switch on all of us, right? Like at first we're like, he can't play center.
Right.
What the hell? He's a corner outfielder. He gets on base. He doesn't do much. Then this year he has like one of the best defensive center field. Like he had some unbelievable catches this year. Like he has worked hard to be I'm a center fielder, and he deserves a contract. But that's the thing. It's like, how much are you willing to pay him?
Yeah,
he's gonna get a nice contract. Maybe from us, maybe from another team. Diaz, you have to lock up for sure. Again, flip the switch on all Mets fans. He's the best closer in baseball again. I wasn't the Ed Luz Met fan. I always had faith in him. There's times where, I was a little, when he came in, I was like, oh God, here we go. But I wasn't like, we need to get him out of town. I was like, there's stuff here. He just has to figure it out. And eventually figure it out finally, because he had the good management and good coaches and everything to finally figure out how to utilize him well. So we have to pay him. So it's not going to solve everything. I don't think, you hear the reports, we're in on the Judge sweepstakes. Who the hell isn't going to be on the Judge sweepstakes? Okay. It makes no sense. Everyone's going to be in on him. Right. But I think there's just players you definitely need to get back. And that's the thing. It's like, DeGrom is really the biggest question mark right now. I think you can get Nimmo back. I think you can get Diaz back. I think they both want to be here. But DeGrom is the biggest question mark right now. If you're willing to splash the money to get him to come back here, it looks like he's on his way out. But we have no idea at this point, too.
I mean, if you have Scherzer for 2 more years, makes sense to get DeGrom again, right?
Yeah.
Because it's gonna feel weird just Scherzer, so might as well go for DeGrom being your top priority.
And you definitely want the best closer in baseball you can. That's a must. And I think you made that clear also with Nimmo and how important he is to the team. I think, excuse me, Chris Bassett looked like the moment got too much for him. The dude swearing to himself while throwing warm-up pitches, that's not a good sign. Blowing it in on Sunday or last Sunday at Atlanta, and then now I don't think he should be a priority in the offseason after that. Like, lost a major opportunity there.
Pitching, it looked like an away game for him. Musgrove looked like he was pitching at home. He looked comfortable.
Real comfortable Musgrove.
I mean, the cool thing with Musgrove is like San Diego is going to be rocking when he's on the hill next. He's a San Diego kid, so I mean, he came up when it mattered most. And the same thing. It's weird that your top three Mets pitchers. I mean, DeGrom showed up, but Atlanta he had a rocky start, so quality start. But he showed up when it mattered on Saturday. But the guy you paid the most money to as a pitcher on the first game, you're supposed to anchor it down on short rest, doesn't perform. And then last resort, Chris Bassett, who's been so consistent all year long, and in the two biggest starts of the year for him, he just can't get through it. And it was brutal. And I knew right away once he started getting walks and the bases loaded and that single got through that hole, I knew right away. I was like, he just doesn't have it.
Yeah.
That team is just going to destroy you as they did when you don't have it. They were attacking. They got in his head. They were stepping out of the box and calling time. And you could tell how frustrated he was. Meanwhile, on the other side, because I'm going to keep on being how impressive Joe Musgrove was, he got his ear, whatever, came back in, was doing, pretty much flipping off the Mets every chance he got, doing signals, doing the Kenny Battle. Like, he was doing insane stuff. And that was the thing. He was just like, yeah, they pissed me off. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go out. I'm just going to keep doing my thing, kick their ass. And he did that. Like, much respect to you. Once I saw him do the Kenny Battle, I was like, we lost. Like, we didn't wrap it up. Let's pack it up. Let's leave now. It's over. And that was the thing. He and messaged all my uncles and everyone. I was just like, this team deserved to win. The Padres, time and time again, delivered when it mattered most. And when the Mets had the moments to take a shot, they just nothing. Yeah. Absolutely nothing.
And a lot of people said that the Mets were just getting ready for the next series already. And well,
we see how that turned out.
Right.
Pretty much to put a bow on this with the Mets. Now the offseason begins, as you said. You mentioned the big offseason questions, and I guess we'll have more of those conversations down the line when the season's over and such. But yeah, is there any other final words? Like, if you could just look at Buck, if you could look at Steve Cohen at their face, and you could get any unfiltered words to say, what do you have to say as Met fans after the 2022 season?
Wow,
that's tough.
That is tough.
Like, you broke my heart.
I'm trying to
or anything like that.
Right. Once the game was over, I turned off all social media. I turned off the TV.
There are some crazy memes out there.
Yeah,
Cooper said he took Miss Met away from Mr. Met. Oh.
Yeah, I was avoiding all sport-related baseball, SNY sports. I was not watching anything because I know the memes. The trolling is on an all-time high with the Mets. I think what I would say is, we get them next year. Let's go Mets. I was talking to my father about this. Like, this has got to be the most toxic relationship any Mets back. It's just the heartbreak, the letdown. And then next year we're gonna be back at Citi Field. Like, let's go, being hopeful again, and then the cycle continues.
Yeah.
Funny how much a winter really does change your mindset there. How about you, Alex? If you had any words to say to the Mets front office or whatever, what would you say?
Just make this right. Follow what you said. I know it's funny. I saw a tweet in my being mad and upset. It was, Steve Cohen did say 3 to 5 years to win a World Series, so we're kind of on track. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna follow that.
That's true.
I'm going to follow that. And, like Leo said, I'm just going to, just follow this weird loop of, getting ready for the next season and let's go Mets. But I'm just, like I said, the one thing I say, make this right. The one thing that could erase all this is winning.
Yep.
And all of us want all Mets fans, we want to see us hold that trophy again. I don't get emotional. I was a kid when the Giants won the Super Bowls. Like my dad, got emotional, all stuff. Like if I see the Mets win the World Series, I know already I'm going to cry because I've been waiting my whole life for that moment.
Yep.
So just make it right.
Yes.
Steve Cohen, Buck, make this right. Bring one home for us, and all this will go away. We will forget all of this if you hold one up for us.
Follow the game plan you guys have. That's it.
All right. I appreciate your guys' enthusiasm and honesty. So till next year with the Mets, and we'll definitely have some off-season talks when it's that time. So let's look at some other things, because there was other baseball throughout the weekend and a lot of other good, entertaining baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's look at the Cleveland Guardians. Knock out the Tampa Rays in two.
I called
two
it.
Phillies games. And it ends in a 15-inning walk-off with a rookie named Oscar Gonzalez. I also walk off against Corey Kluber, the former ace in the for the Cleveland at the time Indians, but now Guardians. But yeah, guys, Cleveland Guardians are continuing their stellar and surprising season, whether you want to say they're overachievers or not. Regardless, with a very stellar pitching staff, a good mixture of veterans and young scrappy players, the Guardians continue their run. How do we feel about the Guardians knocking out the Tampa Rays?
Yeah, that's bittersweet because they have Amer Rosario and Jimenez.
Another more Mets making it longer than
they're doing a lot better than I thought they would. So they're going farther than the Mets. That's funny. And Lindor is going home. Wow, 15 innings. Yeah, I think they have good pitch in Cleveland. Did I say Cleveland Indians? Oh, sorry, the Guardians.
It's all good. All good. You know what you mean.
Bieber, McKenzie, they're known for their pitching, and I don't see the Guardians beating the Yankees at all. I feel like the offense of the Yankees, having Judge and Stanton and those guys, I think they're not gonna keep up with the offense the Yankees have. They're a good team. They're a young team. I think the youngest team in the playoffs right now.
Yeah,
they're overachieving, and they probably get one game from the Yankees, but I think that's it for them.
Yeah, I agree. I called that series, Matt. So I had one correct so far in the playoffs.
Yes, you do. That's right.
I did call it. I said there's something interesting about this Guardians team that I just really liked, and they're just a scrappy team, good pitching. They don't have a lot of offense. Obviously, they won in a 15-inning marathon to move on.
Mm-hmm.
But it showed again just how resilient they are. They're a young team. The future is bright for them.
Great manager Terry Francona.
Great manager. Year in, year out, always has that team prepared. This has been a fun season for them. I didn't expect them to make it this far. I didn't even really have them in the postseason, honestly. So the fact that they're here is great. I don't have them beating the Yankees. I think they can probably steal one at home. That place goes bananas in the playoffs at home. There's a really, really fun environment that you see in baseball. So I think they can steal one at home. But yeah, their pitching is really guiding them so far. And, they just have to get kind of their offense going to compete against this Yankees team.
Yes. And I agree with you guys too. I mean, if you really look at this lineup, besides Jose Ramirez, there's not a lot of others to stick out unless you're very into watching Cleveland baseball. And the Rays, even though they were able to win with such a small amount of payroll, this was the one time their special luck did not coincide to at least get into another round. And the Kevin Cash curse seems to still be alive after taking Blake Snell out in Game 6 of the World Series.
Dumbest decision in World Series history. I still stamp that, even though I said that years ago. Dumbest decision in World Series history.
Hey, fair enough, and it seems to still haunt them. And looking ahead as the Guardians do play the Yankees, I'm just hyped to see Yankees baseball as division winners. Garrett Cole, we're gonna do Garrett Cole, Nestor Cortez, and Luis Castillo, who've all been pitching really, really well. The big key, at least getting Matt Carpenter back. Still waiting on Benintendi. Hopefully we could get him in the ALCS. But now the Yankees are a really solid baseball team, with the exception of questions in the bullpen. Aroldis Chapman no longer has to bother the Yankee fan or the team anymore. He gets DFA'd, so he's not on the team in general after skipping a mandatory workout. Whether that's rumors that he left because he knew he wasn't going to make the postseason roster and being a selfish player and what, but now he is definitely one of the most disappointing Yankees that I don't think we'll ever see, whether in an old timers game, whether signing autographs. This guy will be known as the dude who gave up a season-ending home run to Jose Altuve in 19, to this hard French name, but against the Rays in 2020, and losing the closer role in general, going on the IL for a bad tattoo. He has been, I won't say Jacoby Ellsbury disappointing, but he's really just been a letdown in every sense of the word. And glad that good riddance, Aroldis Chapman. And I just hope that with his absence, that the Yankees can figure out what to do with their bullpen. If only Michael King can come back, but we know he's not. But it looks like Clay Holmes will be the closer, which he was a role that got him in the All-Star game at the beginning of the season, and it fell flat in the very slow and disappointing September. But like I said, that's my only issue with the Yankees coming in. And don't take these games for granted. Definitely don't, because Guardians could easily win out, and then we will have a reflection podcast for the Yankees. But ultimately, are you guys worried about the Yankees bullpen, and where should we go in that sense, with that our biggest weakness?
I think Chapman had one foot out the door anyways, and it was Chapman had such a bad season, and I think it's probably best you don't want a guy like that pitching even in the 6th, 7th inning against Ramirez. I think Ramirez would have taken deep. So I think it's best at this time you need guys who's gonna be there 100%. And Chapman was not in it for a while now, and he did not have the same arm. He's not the Cincinnati, Chicago Cubs guy. I think they'd be fine. Holmes is good. I think Cole. I know Cole is such a toss up to me,
right?
And I think he's gonna live to the moment. I think this is his time. I think you're gonna see a gem from him. Game 1, I see it coming. I see 8 innings tops for him.
He needs it. Never pitched a home playoff game at Yankee Stadium before, and this could be a great way to redeem himself for underachieving last season, especially.
Exactly. I think he's gonna come out there throwing flames, and I think he's gonna win the hearts of the Yankees fan, at least for Game 1. And Cortez, he's one of my favorite pitchers to see. I love watching that guy pitch. I think he's gonna be must watch in the playoffs with his antics. I think the Yankees will be fine, honestly, at least for this series.
Yes, I think there's a deeper conversation, hopefully, that we get to the ALCS. You feel the same way, Alex? Even bullpen questions and the rotation in general, even though that looks like we're on the upside now, and then having some key players come back, and also we'll see if DJ LeMahieu comes back. But honestly, Oswaldo Cabrera, I think, has earned his spot in the postseason roster, and Oswaldo Perez as well. I think they're just fine. So it's an interesting way to look at it. I'd like to see what you think.
No, I agree. Just real quick, because I found this tweet interesting from Bob Nightingale about the Chapman situation.
Yes.
And it goes, he said that, Aroldis said he would attend their mandatory workout if he definitely was going to get a spot on their postseason roster. The Yankees could not give him that assurance, so he decided to stay in Miami. So you know what? Stay at home.
Right.
It's the same thing looking at football with the Giants, right? Week in, week out, the receivers that we have, which we have in a lot, have to prove themselves to be out on the football field. A lot of position guys have to do the same thing. Aroldis Chapman has to prove himself to be on this roster because of how bad of a year he had. Exactly. So many ups and downs. And if he's not going to be there and his one foot was out the door, you might as well get his ass out the door. Don't even bother to be here, because we want all the guys who actually want to compete to be battling in on postseason roster. And I think a lot of the guys deserve their spots on the roster. And, I think their bullpen's a little suspect, but if your pitchers show up, your Coles, your Cortezes, Sevi against Cleveland's, you guys should be fine. You know, I think
let him pitch 6-7 innings.
Yeah,
maybe.
you got to get a little deep because like we saw what Bieber just did. Like that was an impressive of a start as we saw. Like he was looking real good. And the Guardians pump out pitching like there's no tomorrow. It's the same thing with the Dodgers. Someone goes down and they're like, yeah, you off the street, we'll have you have a sub-2 ERA too. It's like, what the hell? Where are these guys coming from? It's the same thing, right? So, you know, I'm not nervous as a Yankee fan. You guys are hopefully getting some healthy guys back. You know, in showtimes, your offense is clicking. And like I said, we've seen Giancarlo before. When it turns to October,
he's very important.
He's on another planet for some reason when it comes to October. It's just something. His body's aligned with some sort of thing, whatever, and he just hits missiles out of the park. So, you know, I'm expecting the Yankees to be fine. I'm not really too nervous about them. Like I said, the first 2 games of any series is going to be telling what the team is, and we'll have to see. But I'm not too worried. I think the Yankees have done well. They know they've been here before. You know, when it matters most, these guys show up, you know, often and make runs. You know, and come just short of the World Series. So they know how to make a run, and I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, it's a new season, time to restart. The team has the talent in every aspect. And make it matter when it's supposed to matter. And it's also good to have Herman and Taillon coming out of the bullpen too. I think they could eat up innings if needed. So let's just start right away. And especially let's make sure we win game 1, definitely win game 2 after that. And then take it easy. Well, don't take it too easy, but let's rock and roll because we know how delicate October baseball is. And that's all I have to say with this veteran Yankee roster that should be making it to the next round. So that's how we're going to rock and roll there. So next, the Blue Jays and the Mariners played a great, which wound up being a 2-game series. Luis Castillo earned his contract extension, pitching stellar on the road, beating the Blue Jays ace in Manoah. Good stuff from there. Then after being down 8-1, Seattle makes a push again. You know, one of the tough things, that image of Bo Bichette and George Springer running into each other, giving up 3 runs, which ultimately led to a tie, and then breaking it out after the fact. That led to Seattle winning. You know, sports is tough, but Seattle had to do what they had to do. And no one wants to see anyone get hurt, but you know, that's why you need to have communication when it matters the most. So tough break for Toronto, another disappointing exit, and they have some things to work out. But what do we get out of that series? And then Mariners have the big challenge against the Astros.
Yeah, I think
after that. So let's first focus on Jays and Seattle, and then focus on Mariners and Houston. But what'd you get out of that Jays and Seattle series?
I was happy to get this prediction wrong. I had the Jays winning this one, but I told you the other day I would be incredibly happy if the Mariners got postseason baseball. And
getting home games now.
The way they earned it, and the way that T-Mobile Park is going to get, you know, October baseball again after waiting 20 plus years to finally have that happen. Right. That place is going to be so much fun to watch over the next few days, you know, just to see them have baseball back in that city, or playoff baseball, I should say, back in that city. And just to see all the fans go wild. The announcers, the people behind the announcers were like jumping up and down after the time double. Again, just such a resilient effort. I turned the game off when it was 4-0 Blue Jays. When going to game 3, you know, it is what it is. Then I look back at my phone and it's like 8-5. I was like, okay, what the hell's going on? And then I got the Twitter alert, like, you know, boop, it's a tie game. I was like, what is happening right now? Like, this is insane. And to see them come up and win, and it, you know, could be one of those sneaky teams that make the run that no one thought. It took so long for them to get posting baseball. They get hot at the right time. Who knows if they upset the Astros? Like, how wild would that be, right? So I was incredibly happy for them to advance. I didn't see it happening, but again, I'm just waiting for, you know, I guess it'll be game 3, I guess, of that series will be back in Seattle.
Game 3 would be the
yeah. I just can't wait. I'm gonna be dialed in. I don't really watch a lot of like West Coast playoff or baseball. I watch the Yankees and all that in those series, but I am tuning in for Game 3 because that is going to be a spectacle, and whoever is broadcasting that better show off that park. They really need to.
100%. I think. Yeah, this is like the most hated team, the Houston Astros against America's darlings right now, right? The Seattle Mariners, right? And I don't know what's worse, the Blue Jays giving up an 8 lead, or the Mets just one hit on the nation game, right?
That is a hard pill to swallow for both fan
Blue
bases.
Jays, man, they're like the Mets. Every year they go in as the favorites the past couple of years, and they just went in the bet again. And
time's ticking for the Toronto's core
100%,
of the Vladdy, Bo Bichette, Biggio.
They trying to supplant the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox and even the Rays, and the Blue Jays can't get over the hump. And I'm telling you, man, Seattle Mariners, they are the most exciting team to watch in these playoffs with Julio Rodriguez and Suarez and Castillo. They're exciting. And the Houston Astros just silently, next to the Dodgers, the best team in baseball. And I could see an upset here. And don't want to choose Seattle over Houston. It's difficult, I kind of do, and I do want to see Houston against the Yankees, though. That'd be perfect.
That's my storyline of the postseason. Would be
I do. I think I'm gonna go with Houston over Seattle, just because I think Houston is silently the best team in baseball right now, next to the Dodgers. And I think Seattle is probably get like 2 games in, especially at home. But I think Houston's gonna edge out Seattle.
Yeah, if only Luis Castillo can pitch multiple games at the same time. It's gonna be hard. Verlander is going backwards. He's looking like the Tom Brady of baseball at the moment. Probably could win the Cy Young again. Framber Valdez has turned into a star. Obviously, Alvarez, Kyle Tucker, and Jose Altuve still holding it down. Bregman. This is a tough battle for Seattle, but I do think their lineup has some great people. Julio Rodriguez, he hit in game 1, didn't hit in game 2, but he seems healthy enough to make an impact. And Eugenio Suarez, he's been a solid pickup for Seattle in the offseason, and he's doing exactly what they brought him in for. And you can't be upset with that. The catcher Raleigh, who's been a nice story with his big ass at hitting clutch home runs and stuff. Carlos Santana, a solid veteran on this team. The Mariners are good. And maybe if all things are clicking, they can make it into a 5-game series, but that would be a tough elimination game in Houston on the road. But all you could say, Seattle's playing with house money, and from there, you branch out what you do in the following year. And you might even get a good game for Robbie Ray, who was picked up from Toronto. And, even though he struggled against Toronto in game 2, maybe he can, bounce back after another game. So I think this is a very exciting series if you're a true baseball fan. And you can't really complain from there, right?
Yeah. And also just quick to note, this Mariners team is going to be a team to look out for in the future. I keep telling people that. The oldest person in their lineup right now is Carlos Santana at 36 years old.
Yeah.
The second oldest is 31 at Mitch Haniger. So, I mean, there's a young team that's getting hot at the right time. Like I said, pitching staff's young too. They got some young talent. And there's 2 former Mets pitching well for them, Chris Flexen and Paul Sewald. So we're seeing a lot of Mets in this postseason that aren't on our current team. So there's that.
Yeah, Seattle's a great team to watch. They're the Cinderella of the playoffs right now, and I think it's gonna be fun to watch them. But I think they're gonna run into a wall here against Houston.
All right, good stuff, gentlemen. Good stuff. All right, let's now look ahead to the Phillies winning a big series, knocking out the Cardinals, ending the careers of Pujols, Molina, and Wainwright. And now Rob Thompson, after getting the interim part of his job being removed, he's now the full-time manager of the Phillies, and they're riding high with people like Harper. Harper looks like he's back in the sense of playing like an MVP. Carl Schwarber turning into a major move. Aaron Nola shutting down. JT Realmuto looking good. I think the Phillies should be taken more seriously as they head up against a big series against the Braves. But in terms of defeating the Cardinals, was this really? I really think this is not as bad as a Met collapse, but the Cardinals are really underachieving with the moves they made. You have Arenado not playing like Arenado, especially defensively. He had some difficulty. The most likely who's going to be the MVP Goldschmidt doesn't get clutch hits when they need it. Like I said, the old guys in Yadi and Pujols were giving him a push, but just wasn't good enough. I think the Cardinals looking really bad after this series. Do you guys feel the same?
Yeah. I knew the series was a little over once they blew that lead in the first game.
Mm-hmm. At home too. Always in front of your
all of at home.
Great fan base, allegedly.
I know all of us baseball fans, and we're Mets fans mainly, are going to bias. We don't want to see the Phillies make a run, but we all wanted personally to see Pujols have one more run in the playoffs, and we don't have that, right? So that kind of sucked that we didn't get to see the end.
Sports are so cruel, guys.
Yeah, clearly. But yeah, I knew once they blew that, I was like, this, I don't know. To me, I wasn't expecting the Phillies. I said that we're going to lose this series, but just seeing them, they just wanted it more. They came back, and then in the second game, they took the lead early, and then Harper, we all know how Harper can be. A lot of people think he's overrated. Some people think he's underrated. You know what he can do, and once he launched that moonshot, I was okay. It's over. And the Cardinals had their chances too. And I knew that once I think they had man on first and third with 2 outs in like the bottom of the 8th. They couldn't get anyone in, and I was just like, that's it. So we'll talk about the next series up real quick, but I definitely, for Cardinals fans, it's definitely disappointing. I think a lot of them going into it with the moves they made and looking good. They all expected St. Louis to go well, and they just didn't for them. And that's baseball sometimes. They
really need some star aces. I think that's what they're really missing. Michael Malakolis. I'm definitely pronouncing that wrong, but he doesn't.
Nicholas, I think.
Nicholas, yeah, that sounds more.
Yeah, I think the Phillies caught everybody by surprise, and it's funny because Wheeler and Nola are very good pitchers, man.
Yeah, another Met, Zach
Wheeler. Here we go. Yep.
Right, they are married too.
Man, that's not fair.
That's the Wilpons. That's the Wilpons. I would have paid him the money to come back. That was the Wilpons.
Can you imagine if Zach Wheeler would ultimately pitch that third game instead of Chris Bassett?
I never wanted him to leave. I don't care what a Mets fan said. We all knew what he could have, and he was banged up, but we all wanted him back.
If we had Steve, if Steve was there, we definitely would have kept Wheeler for sure.
You have David Robertson, who should have been picked up by the Mets in the trade deadline.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, he went to but like again, it's just listen, the Phillies, because I've seen the Phillies just lose terrible ways this year. They look very sloppy and
they blew a big game against the Mets.
The biggest game, the biggest. I was like, oh, there's no way we're coming back. I was screaming on my couch 5 minutes after that. I was like, oh my god, we did it.
Yeah, the Phillies can,
and their season's still alive.
Yeah, the Phillies know how to lose games. That's why we don't expect Phillies to go for it. And I think just caught the St. Louis by surprise here. Listen, they got very good lineup. I like Harper, Castellanos, and Segura, and Realmuto. So they have a good lineup. And again, Wheeler and Nola are probably a silent, great 1-2 punch in the playoffs, and that's what you really need. And I don't know, but with St. Louis, it just felt like whole celebration season for Pujols and Yachty and Rainray. I think they just deflated at the playoffs. So congrats to the Phillies, and yeah.
Now looking into this series against Atlanta, let me put one point. Sometimes in baseball, we see this a lot. For a team that has a lot of off time, then they play a big series, and then the team that has been playing consistently is going to go past them. Look at the 2015 Mets, for example, after the Royals had an extended ALCS. The 06, the Rockies, sweeping teams in the DS and CS, and then the Red Sox, who had extended series, sweep them. It's happened before. Do you think this could happen in this series for a Phillies team that is well balanced?
It could happen. It's funny because
just the Braves are just too damn good as being the Braves this year.
Yeah, it's funny because in football,
a little bit of both.
With they have a bye week and then they come out flat.
Yeah.
So this is very possible, I think, and they know each other very well, the Phillies and Braves. This is one series I'm not gonna be happy to watch. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'll probably just watch the first couple of innings and be like, I can't. This hurts my heart way too much. The Braves, man. The Braves, like, they've been the best team not all year, but at least in the second half. That team did not lose at all. They just consistent all through, starting pitching, bullpen, lineup. They know how to win games. But it's very possible, once again, having the weekend off and 4 days off and going against a team who's riding high with the Phillies and got to face Wheeler and Nola and, Harper and them boys that come out. So this could be an upset.
Yeah. I think this is going to be an interesting series to look at, for sure. As Mets fans, I don't want to tune in. I don't want to see any of these teams succeed. But Mets bias fan aside, I think this is going to be an actual interesting series. I kind of doubted on the Phillies. They proved me wrong. You kind of tend to forget two arms they have in Wheeler and Nola and how good and special both those arms are. And they have, a guy who can win perennial MVPs in Bryce Harper, and what Schwarber can do. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a fun series. Both teams have good pitching. Both teams have good hitting. I'm not worried about any layover or whatever. The Braves are the Braves. Like they
give you an exception.
And I know I mentioned this to you last week before everything happened, but I was just like, everyone was like, oh, as Mets fans, we're going to keep it relaying today, but it's like, we're riding high, we're winning series, we're touch lead. I'm like, I'm not nervous. Like, the Braves are on a bad start. I'm like, watch, just watch and see. And they win 8 games in a row, 7 games in a row, 14. There's win streak after win streak after win streak after win streak, and that's without some of their star guys, and they were still pulling that off. And I'm like, here we go. And then we saw what happened, right? So I'm not nervous for that team or any kind of layover. When it matters, they turn on the Jets, and they're a different team, and that's why they won the World Series last year. And I think this roster is better than what they had last year, and that team won a World Series. So if I think that roster is better, or this roster this year is better, that's how much respect I have for the Braves. This team could be another special team. I wouldn't be surprised if they're right back in the World Series. But I think this series is going to be fun to watch, and I think the Phillies could at times test the Braves, even though a lot of people doubt the Phillies. That's where they kind of bounced off, and they're used in the playoffs this year against the Cardinals, the wild card. They used that. Everyone's doubting us, and they turned it around. And now everyone's like, this team could make a run. I don't think they're going to pass the Braves, but they could make it an interesting series. I don't think it's a sweep. I think they're gonna battle.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff, gentlemen. And the last thing to talk about is the Dodgers and the Padres, the last 2 series to break down.
Sweep
and look
them, Dodgers.
You just want to sweep them, avenge the Mets.
Just sweep them, please.
How do you think they can do that?
I don't know. There's the Dodgers, man. They're so good.
111 wins. That's correct.
That lineup is stacked from top to bottom. And like I said, they lose a guy, and you can argue if he's their ace or not. But you lose a guy, Walker Buehler, and you're like, ooh, that could be a big injury for them. Nope.
Not quite.
Like I said, whoever else is just off the
Yep.
scrap heap, we will turn these guys into machines, and they just do it. And that's what makes this team so good. And yeah, they spend the money. They get Freddie Freeman. They have Trey Turner. They get Mookie Betts. They get the guys. They get the big names. But, you know, it's their pitching really at the end of the day that mostly is homegrown that allows them to do that. They just added to a great pitching staff with great offense, and that's why there's a constant machine year in and year out. I don't think they're going to sweep the Padres. As a Met fan, I want them to just destroy them by 10 every single game.
Right.
I don't think that's going to happen. We just saw, you know, like I said, that pitching staff over in San Diego, those guys, when they pitch in their series, they're not going to be easy. You know, I know Blake, we roughed up, but you looked insanely good. You Darvish, you look back to the Cubs days with him, and then we just saw what Musgrove did. So they're going to be a tough out. And they're going to battle, but I think it'll probably be like 5, 6 games. But the Dodgers are a machine. But I think this is going to be a really, really fun watch. Just both rivals don't like each other. Just both scrappy teams. And I think it's going to be fun. But overall, I think the Dodgers are gonna win this one out too.
Yeah, man. There's another reason why I'm mad at the Mets, because I don't see San Diego probably one game out of the Dodgers. They know that these two teams know each other so well. They played so many times all year, and the Dodgers just dominated the Padres. And I don't see, they just have their number. They know how to pitch to Machado and Profar and all those guys. And they've seen Darvish several times and to be hit. They've seen Musgrove. They've seen these. So they've seen Snell. I think the Dodgers are easily the best team in baseball, and Turner, Freeman, and it's just stacked team. And I think it's way too. San Diego don't have a shot here, man. Like I won't say a sweep. Probably get one game, but the Dodgers are way too much.
Yeah, guys, I say it's going to be a sweep from the Dodgers. You know, have Urias throw a no-hitter, and then you have Freddie Freeman hit for the cycle. That home field advantage is going to work. This team is close to perfect, and we know how good Dave Roberts has been keeping this team in check and this core, and they just have to win another World Series to show that this era was a legitimate one and maybe make a push for a dynasty next year. So I think the Dodgers in 3 are going to take care of the Padres easily. So I think that's all we have for now. These division series continue. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. We'll have coverage for you once these division series are done, with also the exception if the Yankees have a major collapse for my therapy session. But we'll keep it real, gentlemen. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for the first time, Leo and Alex, staying consistent as always. So let's see how the division series unfold and how well or disastrous our picks were.
Yes. We'll see. Thank you guys for having us. Thank you, Matt, for having us again. Leo, it was great meeting you. It was a lot of fun. You know, we'll you know, experience the Mets suffering over the next few days, but we got the divisional series, and hopefully it gives us some good baseball as baseball fans to root for.
Yes, for sure, man. Hey, don't worry about that. I'm gonna watch the Phillies and Braves with an angry face. But let's go and watch these games, and hopefully we see some good hitting and pitching, and forget it, the Mets series ever happened.
We'll take that great note there. Thank you, gentlemen. I'll see you in a few days, and let's rock and roll from there.
Sounds good.
Leo and Alex, everybody. See you.
Bye.